What I really love about piñata is its form, color, and texture. It's also this innocuous kids' party game that has this underlying sin element. I always refer to my work as piñatas. I've been encouraged to call it paper art or paper sculpture. But I really just call them piñatas. I think the Mexican craft should be presented as such. With a piñata, people often think about what's inside. I don't talk about what I put inside mine because after reading what people imagine to be inside, I could never top that. Even to the plague, which is actually a little scary considering we broke one up in 2019. And the plague hit the next year. So who knows, maybe there was plague inside. I used to do bronze sculpting, but I really enjoy working with paper, I found. When I was first sculpting, I used to try and make everything perfect, but I've learned to just look for what works. My series, Piñatas of Earthly Delights, comes from Heironymous Bosch's Garden of Earthly Delights. The painting is split up into 3 panels. The left panel is a Garden of Eden. Middle panel, the debauchery of man. All kinds of sex is happening. To me, the middle panel is very appealing. It almost feels like a magical world where anything was possible and everything was explored. And then the right panel is dark, literally and figuratively. There are a lot of more malicious-looking animals. Apart from Jesus, in the very far left panel, all the religious figures are in the dark panel, which I think is pretty interesting. Many people think of the painting as a whole, and they think of the journey of man from Garden of Eden to destroying themselves through sin. Bosch was Catholic, and sin and pleasure are definitely linked in that culture. Like, I know that Catholicism, when they view me, they see sin. Like, that's just what they think of homosexuality. But I think I'm just as innocuous as a piñata, you know? So to me, there is that parallel. When I first thought about making a piñata, I just thought of Bosch because that's the piñata that I would want for my birthday. The creatures themselves are so fantastical. Sculpturally, they're a challenge. There's a ton of birds that I've done. I really like the giraffe just because of the scale. You can see that, like, the neck and the main part of the head, like, this is a long balloon. This is just a regular balloon-shaped balloon. So all I had to do with this one was fold over a piece of paperboard just to bring out this nose. It was just one of those magical moments where I didn't really have to sculpt a whole lot. So in the painting, you can see that it is male. And I really tried to depict that anatomy the same way that it is depicted by the painter. And it really is dictated by the source that I pull from. And if there should be a butthole, there will be a butthole. So this is Candy Ass Bottom. I don't have it with me anymore. It's in a private collection. But this was taken from a vignette from Bosch's painting. A man is bent over, and another man is behind him putting flowers in his butt. So I replaced the flowers with candy and replaced the person's head with a piñata head. It became one of my favorite pieces. This one has many facets to it. I feel like it really does layer a lot of myself onto it. My formative years were on a ranch in Normanna, Texas. My grandfather was a foreman on this ranch, and it kind of became a legacy situation where when my grandfather passed, my dad moved into that role. It was really in the middle of nowhere. I would say the closest neighbor was about a mile away. My mom is white, my dad is Mexican. So half-breed is what I was called growing up. But it's also one of those words where it literally is a descriptor. So it always confused me why that was an insult. Growing up in that time, in that area, we would feel tension and we would hear jokes or people's thoughts on interracial marriage or their offspring. It really did create this environment where you felt like you didn't have a place. People would probably assume growing up, when I grew up and where I grew up, people were pretty homophobic. But it was beyond that, in my opinion. There were two people that were out in our community. One was an older man who we would see at church only. He'd go with his mom. And one day at a friend's house, they decided they just wanted to spy on him in his home. And they were using a rifle, like looking through the scope. And that's how they were like spying on him. And it was really disturbing to me. You had these things on view for you, like if you were to come out, this is what you're gonna encounter. People forget that it goes beyond just embarrassment. I would say I feared for my physical self when I thought about being open. I would guarantee you nobody would have supported me if I had come out at that time. The most labor-intensive part, the most tedious part, is cutting the fringe. There can be so many cuts just creating each piece. For this, I'm adding a layer of metallic red underneath and just offsetting it so that it peeks out and it just adds a vibrancy to the piece. In researching Bosch, I stumbled upon medieval manuscript imagery. And those creatures within those manuscripts are very similar to the creatures that I'm drawn to in Bosch. So it was like kind of a natural shift to this other series. When I was working on Bosch, it was very much a painterly approach. But with medieval manuscript creatures, it was very different because it's more illustrative. So there were more hard lines. So it was a shift. So this is the medieval depiction of a crocodile eating a hydrus. The imagery for this came from a medieval manuscript from the 15th century, I believe. The crocodile, I kept the same coloration as the illuminated manuscript depicted, but the hydrus I converted to reflect more of a traditional color step of piñatas where it goes from one color to another. And that was just to further push the idea of this being a piñata. The crocodile is being enticed by the hydrus to eat it, and once it's eaten, it finds its way out. Or it really eats its way out, it doesn't find its way out. I believe I had heard, of all people, Martha Stewart say that piñata was from Italy. I was like, sure, Martha, take it away from Mexicans, give it to Italians. But I learned that that actually was true. It traveled from China to Western Europe via Marco Polo. And then missionaries brought them to the Americas. That's where the star piñata was born. There are 7 points representing the 7 deadly sins. And that was used to teach their religion and also convert. You know, missionaries are always looking for their conversion tools. In my work, I try and make everything a star piñata that I can. With Bosch, it was appropriate because it does point back to the theme of the painting and sin. I do feel like this blending of Western imagery with the Mexican craft kind of parallels my mixed race background. It truly is how I picture myself. So anytime I have the opportunity to organically insert a piñata motif, I'll do it. People often refer to what I'm doing as elevating the piñata, and I think of it more as like expanding the breadth of what a piñata can be. An audience is hesitant to accept the piñata as fine art or as valuable, and the chip on my shoulder is that that's because it's Mexican. And Mexican culture, Mexicans in general, are historically excluded from fine art, so I fight that. How long does it take is the most popular question, and I don't have an answer. I think if I knew how long these took every time, it would seem overwhelming. I don't think I've ever once finished a piece and thought, oh, I shouldn't have put that much time into it. I'm Roberto Benavidez. I am a half-breed South Texan queer artist focused on the piñata form.